In this video, we'll be talking about the big chance for severe weather with a 30% chance of winds, as we're going to see some very strong storms developing now and become very severe throughout the afternoon, as very warm temperatures are producing extremely high K values, reaching over 2,500 joules per kilogram, which will really increase the chance for significant tornadoes and as well potentially some pretty strong supercells throughout this afternoon across the mid-Atlantic. Well, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to a forecast here by Agent Weather Forecast. And we'll be looking at the chance for some significant storms across the mid-Atlantic here. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you really like the content here. We're going to be talking about severe weather throughout the whole season. And as well, if you like daily content on severe weather, winter storms, hurricanes, you name it, be sure to subscribe. As well, the like button, subscribe, and the bell icon so you guys can get notified as soon as I post a video and get the latest information here. But I want to give a quick shout out to Ryan Hall, y'all, for the idea of the intro that he does. I kind of like the intro, so I want to get a shout out to him, guys. Be sure to subscribe to him. He's a very great YouTuber, very great content. He does live streams, everything, just like me. But I would also consider subscribing to him. He has 50K subscribers, so congrats to him for reaching that milestone within 2 months of his channel. But without further ado, let's get into the forecast. So we do have an enhanced risk today for some severe weather across portions of the mid-Atlantic, including the Virginia area, far northern North Carolina, and as well even to the Chesapeake Bay, all the way into areas just around the border with far southern Maryland. We also have a very widespread slight risk here all the way from portions of Delaware and Maryland, stretching as far south as the Georgia and as well Alabama portions there in the deep southeast. So we're going to be seeing pretty widespread severe weather, specifically with a slight risk. We're seeing a very large squall line that's going to make its way east that came in from Tennessee and Mississippi last night. And that's why we have a very, very widespread slight risk, including around 27.6 million people, including Baltimore, Charlotte, Washington, D.C., Virginia Beach, and Atlanta, Georgia. But we also have a very widespread marginal risk here all the way from the tri-state area and the Northeast, and as well even including New England there in Connecticut, as far south as Mississippi. And that's exactly where we're going to be seeing some scattered storms here, some gusty winds with some scattered storms that are on either the northern part or the southern part of this large squall line here. And that also includes around 43.4 million people, includes New York City, Philadelphia, New York, Jersey City, and Montgomery. But we're going to be as well kind of focusing specifically where we have the enhanced risk, which includes around 3.1 million people. And this is actually our first enhanced risk for areas such as far southern Maryland here. And I believe our second enhanced risk for areas such as Richmond and Newport News. But this enhanced risk is mainly for the wind threat, but we're still going to be really keeping a close eye on the severe weather for areas such as Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, Newport News, Virginia, and Hampton, Virginia. So kind of more of a populated area, and includes a far northern portion of North Carolina, and as well as the far southern border right on the Delmarva Peninsula and southern Maryland. Very low threat for tornadoes, only a 5% chance, but don't let that fool you because we may see some scattered tornadoes within this region here. And the 5% chance is pretty large here, all the way from areas such as Baltimore going down to the Charlotte region. So it's going to be a very large area where we can possibly have some weaker, small tornadoes. And that's kind of including 17 million people. So got to keep a close eye on it because there's definitely a chance we get maybe at least one tornado. So just keep a close eye if you're in that 5% chance, because I know 5% chance is not sound like a lot, but we've had multiple days where we've only had a 5% chance, and we've had multiple tornadoes. So got to keep a close eye. There is a chance for tornadoes, even if it's a 2 or 5% chance, there's still a probability for a tornado. So you got to keep that in close mind here. But the biggest threat that we're definitely going to be seeing today is that 30% chance for winds here. And that's actually non-hatch risk, so we're not looking at any significant winds to bring in over 80 miles an hour or damaging winds of gusts over 65 miles an hour or greater. So that's the reason why we don't have an enhanced risk, because we're going to be seeing a lower threat of 65 knots or higher within this region here. But Norfolk, Chesapeake, Richmond, Newport News, and Hampton, Virginia, you guys are under those under that 30% chance for winds, and that's exactly why we have an enhanced risk for today, because it's not because of hail or tornadoes. And the hail threat is very, very low, only 5% chance. And at this point, the hail is going to be very, very uncommon throughout today, as we're really looking at mainly a QLCS or a squall line to be moving through these areas in the afternoon hours. So hail and tornadoes really aren't the biggest threat, and that's exactly why the wind's the biggest threat. So gusts up to probably 50, maybe 60 miles an hour. So we have some damage here, maybe some power outages scattered across the region. But definitely gonna be seeing a potent chance for extreme winds throughout today. Before we actually get into the actual forecast for today and to models, I actually want to show you guys what the reports we have, the total reports we have confirmed from yesterday. So we actually got 15 tornadoes yesterday, which is actually pretty significant considering we did actually have an enhanced risk, and a lot of these significant tornadoes did happen kind of outside the enhanced risk, such as the tornadoes there that were very strong and very well destructive in Texas there. And we got another report there, I guess, confirmed. So we have 16 tornadoes for from yesterday, and as well 140 hail reports, and a lot of those are actually way outside the enhanced risk, and some of these areas are actually outside the slight risk, like Indianapolis there. And we had a ton of hail reports kind of outside the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee, Virginia, and portions out there near Bristol. So very interesting the amount of hail reports we saw yesterday, and we saw very widespread wind reports, kind of where we had the squall on yesterday in northern Alabama. And that's exactly where we have a ton of wind reports, because we did actually see some linear storms as well up towards the Midwest that really produced very, very strong winds. And we saw a lot of tornadoes. The hotspot was kind of where we had the enhanced risk there, and kind of just outside the enhanced risk, around the border between the slight and enhanced. And that was right in northeastern Arkansas. So we had a ton of tornadoes in northeastern Arkansas, and as well, we saw a ton of tornadoes in northeastern Texas. We only saw one in Mississippi. We only saw, I think, one or three in the actual Tennessee state, but I think two of those were actually right on the river near Arkansas. But this is what we saw yesterday: 16 tornadoes. So definitely still a considerably decent tornado outbreak that we saw yesterday. All right, so this is look what we're seeing right now across portions of the Mid-Atlantic. So we are seeing some some severe storms making their way across the Mid-Atlantic region, including New Jersey, there, Pennsylvania, and as well as seeing some pretty heavy rain there near the Annapolis area and Baltimore. So some pretty strong storms right in some very populated areas, but these are mainly going to be wind producers. We're not going to be seeing anything hail related or anything, I guess, supercell related, at least at the moment within these areas. But we're going to start seeing some pretty strong storms develop throughout the afternoon hours that are actually going to be more supercell like and less PLCS like as we go throughout the afternoon. So this is a look in the next few hours here, the next 6 hours or so. Actually, sorry, 4 hours. We're going to start seeing some pretty strong storms making their way across the North Carolina region, but we're still going to be seeing some pretty significant flooding across portions of New England. We're going to be seeing some very, very heavy rain throughout the day, throughout New England, specifically Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut. You guys are going to get hit really hard by extremely heavy rain, but good thing is you guys aren't going to be seeing anything really severe, I guess, weather related with that. But then storms start to get really severe, specifically where we have the enhanced risk there in areas near Richmond, Newport News, and as well as some pretty significant storms stretching into areas outside of Raleigh and making its way towards the Greensboro region within the afternoon hours. And that'll continue. We're seeing some more storms, some more linear storms blowing up across the state of North Carolina, and as well, even outside the Outer Banks, moving into the border with Virginia. So we're going to be seeing some pretty widespread storms throughout the afternoon hours. And as we get later into early tomorrow morning and late tonight, things will start to kind of calm down a little bit, becoming more part of a QLCS type again. So you really can see the wind reports blowing up at this time. But we are going to be seeing a small time frame where we could see some tornadic activity here late, kind of mid-afternoon. We will see some scattered supercells. You can kind of see some scattered supercells developing here throughout the day. So you got to keep a close eye on that. But like I said, it won't be a whole time frame of 5 hours where we could see tornadic activity like yesterday. It's going to be very small, a time frame, like 1 to 3 hours when the temperature's really getting warm, a lot of cape, and a ton of just perfect ingredients in a certain time in certain area is kind of where we see 1 or 2 supercells developing that could be tornadic. But look at the temperatures though. So right now we're seeing some pretty cool temperatures across New England as well in the northern mid-Atlantic. So that's exactly why we're not going to be seeing anything too crazy. Temperatures going to kind of be kind of cool compared to the atmospheric conditions and the actual temperatures down there in the North Carolina and Virginia area. So as we get in the next few hours, temperatures will start to get really, really warm as the sun's coming out here. The storms are kind of more towards these areas. So that's kind of where we'll have the cloud cover. But here we are seeing the sun in eastern North Carolina, eastern Virginia, at least in the next few hours. Gonna get some high 70s, some as well, some pretty nice 70s as far north as Richmond there, even some 60s going out as far as Delmarva Peninsula. And then things will get even warmer here. Let's actually move my screen that way you guys can see it. We're gonna start seeing some 80s into southern North Carolina. Gonna see some mid 70s there for the areas such as Raleigh and Greensboro, and even getting nearly 80 degrees near Newport News and as well near the Virginia Beach area. So temperatures are gonna be very, very warm. And they do become warmer than expected. We can see some very high Cape and actually higher Cape in some areas, and that can really help reduce a lot more storms, or at least storms to be more scattered than what the SPC believes that we'll see. But look at that, 85 degrees there. We're going to see nearly 80 degrees there near Newport News. Even seeing some mid 70s as far as the Delmarva Peninsula, some low 60s, mid 70s as far north as New Jersey. And then they start to calm down as we get into the evening hours. Temperatures will start to calm down once again, but get maybe nearly touching 70 degrees there in New Jersey. But after that, temperatures will start to rapidly cool off as the sun sets and the Cape will start to decrease. That's kind of where it be that QLCS start again, with that cold front being just to the west right here. So we're gonna be seeing a QLCS forming right on top of that cold front. So that's kind of where we see a QLCS and not really a squall. But the temperatures will definitely still be favorable overnight for some really significant storms to develop here that could produce some slight hail. But like I did say, hail is not going to be super duper big of a threat here, and actually only has a 5% chance. So if anything, we might see pea-sized hail, max quarter-sized hail. But let's go ahead and look at the Cape here, surface-based Cape. And as we get in the next hour or so, it's going to be very low. Some scattered areas of 1,000 joules per kilogram. And right on the Outer Banks, we actually make it 1,400 joules per kilogram. So it's going to be kind of more towards outside of that severe weather threat that we have so far today. But as we get in the later afternoon, these temperatures will start to get really warm. Humidity is going to as well increase. Helicity as well will increase slightly. We're going to be seeing a lot of this, stored energy really gather up and accumulate as we go through the afternoon. So going to get around 2,200 joules per kilogram in east central North Carolina, even getting some mid 1,000, 1,600, 1,700 almost across eastern Virginia as well. So that's actually pretty favorable for some slight storms here. But as we look at later on in the afternoon, we'll start getting nearly 3,000 joules per kilogram in some scattered areas near east central North Carolina there. So 3,000 joules per kilogram is definitely going to be the time frame here. I guess in the late afternoon, I guess say maybe 4 or 5 o'clock tonight, or today, not tonight, but today, this late afternoon, is going to be that little corridor where we can possibly see some slight tornadic activity. Like I said, it won't be too major, but again, we do have a 5% chance, so that's still a slight chance for some scattered, weaker tornadoes here. But as you see, it's going to continue to be quite the large Cape values here, getting nearly 2,000 joules per kilogram in Virginia. Still seeing some scattered areas of 2,700 joules per kilogram, and then that'll most likely increase later on as we get right in the evening hours. Around 7 o'clock, we'll have another scattered area blowing up, because again, if the temperatures get really warm, a lot warmer than expected, the Cape values can be very high for a longer time than expected here, and this could very well occur if we're seeing nearly 86, 87 degrees just to the south. So nearly going to touch really around 3,100 joules per kilogram just to the south of Raleigh. So that's kind of where we have the area to keep a close eye on for maybe if we get some really strong winds, or like I said, slight chance for tornadoes. But let's go ahead and take a look at the supercell composite parameter here, or supercell composite index, to rate the probability of supercells to actually occur. So right now, very low chance. Our highest number is going to be like a 3, which is a very low probability of getting supercells, but that'll gradually increase and actually rapidly increase as we get into around maybe 3, 4 o'clock today. We're going to get up to a 10 on the index, and as well even a 13 down here in southeastern North Carolina. But a very widespread area of double digits of probability of supercells to develop, and then actually even increase. Not going to get up to possibly a 17 on the scale in northern North Carolina, and as well a 17 on the scale right near the Delmarva Peninsula. So we got to keep a close eye. There could be some small scattered supercells, but it doesn't necessarily mean they could be tornadic. It could mean that would be our hail producer for today. And as we get later on, we're going to get a very good chance for supercells, getting a 24.5 on the scale there for southeastern Virginia. Some teens there, some mid-teens there near Delaware, into even some higher and near 8 or 9 or southern New Jersey, and as well some scattered numbers getting nearly 10 on the scale in eastern North Carolina later this afternoon, and then that kind of rapidly decrease as the sun does go down. So we're gonna have a small time frame here. I'd say an hour or so, and maybe 1 or 2 hours, where we could possibly see some pretty, I'd say moderate supercells developing across North Carolina and Virginia. But let's go ahead and look at the important thing, a significant tornado parameter. So looking at the STP, measuring the probability on the scale from 0 to 10 on the chance for a tornado. Anything goes above a 10, then there's at least a very good chance for maybe 1 or 2 tornadoes in a specific area where we have an over 10. So that's kind of, I guess, explaining what the STP is. So again, the next 3 hours, we're going to start seeing some numbers blowing up here, but we're going to be seeing a 3 or 4, even a max of a 5.05. I know 5 seems pretty great chance, but you guys are thinking of the 1 through 10 on the actual the actual tornado scale, but this is not. This is a little slightly different here. So a 5 isn't that intimidating, really. It's gotta, even if you get a 5, I say just keep a close eye on the weather, and as well maybe keep a close eye on the news, because a 5, although it sounds pretty high, it's rather low, but a 5 is still a 5. So you still gotta keep a close eye on that. But even gonna get possibly even a 6.3 on the scale in southeastern North Carolina. And then we're going to even see these numbers rapidly go to the north. So we're going to have around a 4 or 5 there in the STP across Virginia and Maryland. So going to be seeing really low chance for tornadoes in that region. But going to get around a 6 to a 7 in northeastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia. And that's kind of where we do have the enhanced risk for today. So if anything will happen, we will possibly see, if we see tornadoes today, it'll most likely happen within east central North Carolina or far southern Virginia. But then as we get later within the next, I think this is around 8 hours or so, we get a very large number here, up to a 10.68 on the STP scale. So we got to really keep a close eye. If you're kind of east of Raleigh, kind of in this region, I really think you guys should keep a close eye, if anything, because there could be 1 or 2 tornadoes today, and if anything, there's a very great chance they could occur in east central North Carolina. And then we're still going to get up to 11 on the scale within the next I think it's late evening, getting to dusk or so. We're gonna get up to 10 on the scale, and then it'll rapidly decrease as the temperatures do rapidly fall off and go into the lower 70s and upper 60s. And that's kind of why we are only gonna kind of be seeing more of a QLCS threat once it's actually past midnight, in the middle of the night here. But here now, looking at the next 18 hours, how much rain we're going to be seeing the next 18 hours according to the HRRR. And we're going to be seeing some scattered areas across North Carolina today, where we could be seeing multiple cells moving in the same regions for hours and hours straight, as we have very high Cape values, nearly 3,100 joules per kilogram in the region. Supercells, or cells in general, strong thunderstorms will develop in linear lines and going to the same regions one after the other. So we are going to be seeing a similar scenario like yesterday. We're going to be seeing some small regions that can get really heavy rain, except it's going to be a lot less severe than the flooding that we saw yesterday in Tennessee or Alabama. It's going to be a lot less severe, but we could see some scattered areas across northeast and North Carolina that can possibly get over 7 inches of rain here within the next 18 hours. And that's we could see some scattered flash flood warnings. And similar scenario there near Delmar, running to New Jersey, we can see some scattered areas of over 4 inches of rain. So got to keep a close eye on that as well for flooding. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.